What is Hobbit Day, and what's the true story behind Don't Go Drinking with Hobbits? This is the Celt Father Mark Gunn, and today we're going to talk about Hobbit Day, which is on September 22nd. But before we get to that, we're going to actually get a little bit of news. And the first thing is that this Thursday, September 21st, is the release of my new single, The Long Arm. It is from the upcoming album, As Long As I'm Flying. You can go get that by just heading over to anywhere online. It'll be available on CD Baby, on Amazon, on iTunes, etc., etc. Right now, there's a music video that is currently up on YouTube. The video is actually just a lyric video, so you can learn the lyrics and sing along. And also, on that same day will be my Celt Father live performance in the evening over on Concert Window. So if you want to see me perform, the show is absolutely free. However, I call it the Mercenary Show because I have a game attached to it. You'll find details over on the website. Follow the links in the show notes. The Firefly CD, I'm getting close. I have all but one song finished. I'm waiting on some drums. I decided to send it off to my friend Randy Watkey to add some percussion because something's missing from this song. And the song is She's Shiny. You can hear the rough version if you sponsored the album or if you're a patron. But yeah, She's Shiny. It sounds great, but I feel like something's missing, and I'm not entirely sure what that is. So I'm hoping the percussion will round it out, maybe give it that swing feel that it needs or whatnot. If you didn't catch the two Halfway to St. Patrick's Day shows, please check those out. There's a lot of cool music in those. I'm particularly fond of the Irish and Celtic Music Podcast one. You know, I really love how it came out. There's a lot of great music in that show. And mine as well. Go check it out if you haven't. It's the Pub Songs Podcast. I'm also been listening to Dan Carlin's podcast on the Celtic Holocaust. I'll tell you more about that. Hopefully next week is my goal to get the next episode of the Celt Father. Stay tuned for that. I did some updating on blogs. I've been blogging a little bit more. I'm also going to be adding all the show notes for all the podcasts into my blog over on my website, markgunn.com. And this month, you can get the new Brobdingnagian and Bard CD, Dragons and Virgins, as well as 5 classic Celt Father CDs. Visit thebards.net for a link to that or my Bandcamp page. Finally, I want to send a thanks to our newest gun runners, Anita Gorell, Raylan Bangle, Matthew McMillan, Linda Reynolds Birkins, Justin Lawrence, Robin Louise Finner, Tom Smith, Robert Eby, and Evan Meehan. Go to markgunn.net if you want to become a patron. Now on to Hobbit Day. Yes, September 22nd is Hobbit Day. This actually whole week is considered Hobbit Week. And it was first proclaimed by the American Tolkien Society in 1978. And I actually don't think I really heard about it until, 5 or 6 years ago, even though I love Hobbits and Lord of the Rings and whatnot. But it does celebrate the birthday of Bilbo Baggins and Frodo Baggins. They share the same birthday. And Bilbo Baggins was 111 when the Lord of the Rings started. Frodo was 33, which makes 144 people, or as Bilbo says in the Fellowship of the Ring, a gross of people who he invites to his birthday party. I must say that I love that idea. I thought I would share, though, a little bit about my introduction to Hobbits and Lord of the Rings and whatnot, because I don't know if I ever have. I probably have, but you never know. Because I found Hobbits, the first thing, my introduction was I was in the 6th grade, is when they showed The Hobbit, the animated cartoon, in school. And I absolutely loved it. Went home raving about it. I think it was probably a year later, my stepmom ended up telling me all about The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And I got started, I think I read The Hobbit, the book, shortly thereafter. And then Lord of the Rings, though, took a bit longer for me. I was having a lot of trouble getting into it. But nevertheless, the Hobbit made a huge impact on me as a person. I don't know exactly. I was thinking about the psychology of a Hobbit, for me at least, because I remember when I was a kid, we'd pack up the car or something, and I'd be like, I'll sit in the spot where there's nowhere to sit, because I just wanted to be contained in a small little spot. Closets. I loved closets. I spent some time in closets, just because it was small and intimate and I don't know, something peaceful struck me about it. So when I found Dungeons and Dragons, I think my very first character was a halfling. I think I was the red cover Dungeons and Dragons. It was my first introduction, or maybe I had the blue as well. But I remember there was a Hobbit character, and I was like, "Ooh, I want that! I want that little character." It's basically a halfling. It's a halfling, though, you know. And then, of course, my favorite character was a character called Rat, as you might have heard in my song. Those are characters who died. I just loved hobbits and halflings, and spent a lot of time creating characters like that. There's quite a few halflings in my days. That led me on a big journey of passion and love for Hobbits and Lord of the Rings. And of course, you know, it ultimately led to the creation of a couple albums of Lord of the Rings music. The first was Memories of Middle-earth by Brobdingnagian and Bards. Many of the songs that I wrote from it were written while I was flying to Italy to visit my mom and reading Lord of the Rings. I was just totally fascinated by it. The Psychopathic Chronic Gollum Blues, The Ring of Hope, Heart of Fangorn. Those are all songs just inspired because I absolutely loved Lord of the Rings at the time, and we were working on an album because we had one instrumental tune that we called Tolkien, The Hobbit, and Lord of the Rings, and it was like our most downloaded track. I think we had, I don't know, a few million downloads of that individual track before mp3.com shut its doors. So it was a very popular song. It fueled the creation of the first Lord of the Rings album we did, which ultimately led us to a Lord of the Rings Oscar party in Hollywood, California. Actually, Andrew and I got invited to play that. I think I try to include a link to I wrote an article that's talking about how excited we were to be going to Hollywood to play for a Lord of the Rings Oscar party. It led to ALEP, getting invited to perform at ALEP, a long-expected party, which is happening at the end of this month in Shakertown, Kentucky. One of my absolute favorite events ever, where they've done reenactments of the Hobbit birthday party, Bilbo Baggins' birthday party and such. It happens every 3 years, and it's just absolutely amazing. I will link to some articles and reviews that I've done at this event, but it's still one of my absolute favorite places to be, and I'm really excited to be heading back there once again. This year, I'll be joining Jamie Hauser and Samantha Gilogly, who will be playing music with me, along with the whole Hobbit players who typically join us up at the pub, the Dancing Pony, and at the end of the event when we do lots of dancing and such, dance music. It's an amazing experience, but I don't exactly remember when. My timeline is a little bit off. I think it must have been about 2003 or 2004 that I went drinking with hobbits. So the way this story actually began was Andrew and I used to play around DragonCon. We'd walk around and play music, and it was a brilliant time. You get all sorts of positive feedback from people as they say, "Oh, look, there's wandering musicians here at the convention." And I remember stopping at a table, and I don't remember what the table was, but this is actually the table that the people who ended up inviting us to the Lord of the Rings Oscar party a year or so later. They were a fan fiction site. What is the name of them? I can't remember it. They were a fan fiction site, though, and we, stopped, chatted, talked about, Lord of the Rings a little bit, and eventually they invited us to go out and go drinking and such. And now Andrew, of course, didn't drink at that point in time, and so it was all on me, and I was up to the challenge. So we went out. Actually, I guess we went out for dinner. I think Andrew came along for the dinner part, but I stuck around and was drinking and having a wonderful time. But I remember in particular that I think there was my drink of choice. I don't know what it was, probably liquor. And then there was some other type of alcohol that was given to me too. But those two different alcohols basically really knocked me on my butt. I was highly intoxicated by the end of the evening, and I know the next morning I woke up with the worst hangover. But and that was like I think that was on a Friday, so that's a bad time to be drinking. Is on a Friday before everything starts happening at the convention. So yeah, I woke up in the morning and I was already getting a little bit hoarse. The day I was having trouble, talking, let alone singing. By the evening, I had no voice. I guess I might have made it through the Saturday evening show, but the Sunday evening show, I know in particular, it was all Andrew. Andrew, at this point in time in our musical career, Andrew did not sing many songs. He sang some songs with me, had a couple songs that he was making popular with Seven Drunken Nights and Rattlin' Bog. But that was about it. He was not singing much at all. And at this point in time, I had zero voice. I was unable to sing. So we were doing a filk show, which, usually indicates songs, words. and he decided, it basically came down to it that he was going to have to sing for it. There was a lot of procrastination, a lot of making fun of me, a lot that went into that particular show, but ultimately that's what inspired. A few months later, I think I started working on the lyrics for "Don't Go Drinking with Hobbits," and I based the chords all on the song "When Irish Eyes Are Smiling." One of the great things about the auto harp is I could just basically take other chords and write my own melody, and it was a really easy melody to write. It just kind of flowed. I don't remember which came first, the music or the lyrics, but probably about the same, I think, because I think it all started with the chorus, "Don't go drinking with hobbits, sure you'll have a grand time all night long." And I basically told my story from this whole event and added a little bit of a Hobbit twist to it. The song, of course, has become one of my mainstays, one of my most popular songs, I think most requested songs that I love to play, and I play it pretty regularly. It was a rough event, but it worked out. I think a couple years later, I actually wrote my Hobbit birthday song, which is basically, the idea was to write a birthday song that you could sing in a Hobbit gathering. You could have your own song to sing, Hobbit song to sing to people, which now and then I get a chance to do. And I actually ended up putting together a website at hobbithappybirthday.com, which the whole point of it was basically to promote this song that I wanted to eventually put on a CD, and eventually did with "Don't Go Drinking with Hobbits." But I wanted some content for the website, so what did I do? I went to Ree Sheridan Rose and commissioned her to write how to celebrate a Hobbit birthday, and eventually, actually, I published it into an ebook, which you can now get over on Amazon. Again, check the links in the show notes. There's a lot of links that'll be in there. I just released it a few months back because I figured, like I'm doing, I would be forgetting that I was going to do this. And I need a better calendar, a better way of reminding myself that at this point in time I should be promoting the new ebook. But you can get How to Have a Happy Birthday Party, Hobbit Birthday Party and Games, over on Amazon. It's a Kindle book. Again, it was written by Ree Sheridan Rose with artwork by Amanda Carmen. And of course, because of our working together on this website, it ultimately led to the recording of lyrics that she also wrote. I went to her and said, "Hey, would you like to help write some Hobbit songs for me for this album?" And she wrote over half the songs, I think. So she did an absolutely amazing job, and some of my favorites are from her. So since then, of course, I've gone on to create my Hobbit drinking songs show that I now take to conventions. At Dragon Con, I do it with Andrew McKee, and part of the Brobdingnagian Bards, and at Gen Con, I play it solo. And I just started actually this year at Gen Con, and it's gone over great. It pretty much usually does. People really enjoy this sort of event. Dragon Con, I think, is the bright, shining pillar of how awesome it can be, because we played it 2 or 3 years ago. 2 years ago, I guess it was. And we had 700 people. We packed a ballroom with people singing these Hobbit songs. It was absolutely amazing and inspiring too. I am hoping that I can write some more Hobbit songs, and to that end, I actually put together a website, hobbitsongs.com, which has all of my Hobbity music, because you will find music that's not on Memories in Middle-earth and Don't Go Drinking with Hobbits. In fact, What Color's Your Dragon has a couple 2 or 3 tracks of Hobbit songs. Sci-Fi Drinking Songs has at least one. My Celtic Christmas Greetings album closes with this great Hobbit Christmas song with lyrics by my friend Nancy Flynn. What can I say? I love Hobbits. I love Lord of the Rings. So if you love Lord of the Rings too, I hope you've enjoyed this little update about, some of my history with it. And I'd love to know yours. You can post it in the comments, in the show notes over at keltfather.com. Of course, if you haven't heard Don't Go Drinking with Hobbits or Memories of Middle-earth, Memories of Middle-earth you can go listen to on Spotify or you can buy on CD Baby, iTunes, Amazon, wherever. Don't Go Drinking with Hobbits is also available in those places, but it's also over on the Irish and Celtic Music Podcast. I released a special episode that features all of the music from the album. It's just you get to listen to the entire album from start to finish. And it's all free. So go check it out. Obviously, if you enjoy the music, then go on over to hobbitsongs.com, buy a CD, buy some music, and support your friendly neighborhood musician. You can support my music and travels for as little as $1 per month when you join the Gunrunners Club and become a patron of my music. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to the podcast and my mailing list at keltfather.com. And don't forget to catch my concert window show this Thursday, September 21st. Talk to you later. Sláinte.